day 2, because we got a full week this week. We had to have a Monday, except for some of y'all that apparently got Jefferson Davis' birthday off. I don't understand, but there it is. That being said, it's Taco Tuesday. Hit me some of that, man.
But more importantly, y'all know what today is, right? It's
And there it is. Welcome to it. Speedy Gonzalez telling us it's Taco Tuesday. We're glad you're here, and that is JP pushing buttons on the board. Hey, buddy.
Howdy.
I didn't give you Jefferson Davis's birthday off, and I'm sorry. That's just the way we roll, though. You understand?
I kind of forgot that was even a thing until I saw AL.com do an article about it 2 days ago.
I know. You know what? And I know that some people are actually offended by that. I'm ambivalent. I'm indifferent to it. But I look at it, go, and I think, but do we really have to close the courthouses and all that kind of stuff? I mean, come on.
I feel like that's going a little too far.
It's a little too far. I mean, it's one more reason why government employees get a day off, I guess. But, and I say that with all the love in the world, but nonetheless, you guys can't tell me you don't get a bunch of days off. All right, listen, we got a great show laid on for you. No guests today, no guests on purpose, because my goal is to unpack some stuff and do deep dives. And so I wanted the time to do that. So that's how we're going to roll today. So that being said, I got a triple dipper and it's filled up with stuff. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right. The Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First out the gate, in case you hadn't heard, there's this little thing that used to be a big thing that's not as much of a big thing anymore. It's called Pride Month. I don't get it. A whole month. Veterans get a day. LGBTQ2IA plus acronym people get a month. Nonetheless, I'm calling this the fall of the Rainbow Mafia. Yes, indeed. They used to pressure, cajole, shame, dox anybody who didn't just jump on board, do all in, and yet, oh, by the way, the Rainbow Mafia appears to have lost its momentum. We'll talk about that. Number 1, Triple Dipper, fall of the Rainbow Mafia. Number 2, there's a new poll that came out. It's a real poll. CNN did it, and it slams the Democrats. I mean, they are in bad shape. This is a major poll indicating that the vast majority of Americans think the Democrats have no plan and provide no leadership. Wow. That being said, now's the time to not waste any time. If Republicans waste this opportunity, it's a self-inflicted wound. If we sit by and just let this go by without getting what we can done while we have the opportunity, while they're reeling, then guess what? Shame on us. So I'm calling this whole dipper waste no time, and I'll tell you more about that. And then number 3, oh man, you know the deal. Every once in a while, I'm looking at the news and I'm thinking, well, that's just some goofy wokeness. Or how about that for some wokeness? There's some wokeness for you. Oh my gosh. And the next thing I know, I realize I've got a plethora, a veritable buffet, a vast cornucopia, if you will, a whole smorgasbord, a charcuterie of wokeness. So yes, we'll do a Adventures in Woke World round as number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, let me jump on into the Rightside Way opening monologue, and I'll remind you guys that attorney Stan McDonald is a partner at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee, a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. He's a daily sponsor of the Rightside Way monologue, and I'll tell you more about Stan here in just a few minutes. Okay, well, I'm going to say this. The left has apparently overplayed its hand in a big way, like a big way. They've overstayed their welcome. They've overmade their cause. They've overplayed their hand. It's Pride Month again. Well, now it's Pride Month, but this year it seems the shine is off the apple as more and more corporate sponsors no longer feel the need to have to virtue signal with fake rainbows. So at the risk of sounding offensive, and is there anybody else who's tired of having the woke just vomit rainbows on us every minute of the day? Even with Pride Month on the wane, I still can't search online, watch TV, read a magazine, or shop in many stores without being slathered in fake rainbows for a Pride Month. Just slathered. So, by the way, when did this happen? When did it become okay to steal a symbol that was never intended for the use that we're seeing it be used for now? Because in my opinion, the rainbow has been stolen. The rainbow has for millennia been that beautiful refraction of light in the sky, often after a good cleansing rain, showing up sometimes in vivid colors, causing people to stop and take notice. and the first recorded acknowledgement that I know of regarding a rainbow is in Scripture, memorialized in writing thousands of years ago as a symbol of God's promises when he said in Genesis 9 that I will set my bow in the clouds as a covenant between me and thee. The rainbow has been revered and beloved across international borders since the dawn of time. But if you were to ask most Americans right now whether they want a rainbow to be a symbol of their business or on a t-shirt or on their child's toys or on the wall in their classrooms, you'd probably be met with a curious look and a question as to whether or not you're asking because it's Gay Pride Month. Gay Pride, Gay Pride, Gay Pride. Speaking of which, when did the word gay itself become redefined? I mean, for hundreds of years, the word gay meant lighthearted, carefree, happy. In the time of the American Civil War, the song When Johnny Comes Marching Home Again was a popular ballad about how happy and expectant everybody would be when the war was over. All the troops would return home, and the lines that people sang was, we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. But if you look up the word gay in any online dictionary now, you're going to find a rainbow flag next to it with the explanation that, and here's the actual quote, the term gay primarily refers to a homosexual person or the trait of being homosexual. Followed then by the additional explanation that the term originally meant carefree, cheerful, or bright and showy. So when did that change actually occur? Look, here's the bottom line. I want the rainbow back. I want the rainbow back as a symbol of God's promise. I want gay back as a word that just means happy. And your pronouns, by the way, your pronouns are what the by God English language says they are, and I don't have to make myself illiterate to satisfy your incorrect usage of the primary language of this country. Any questions? Good. But I'll tell you why I think those wonderful symbols and words have been co-opted. Lean in here. Think about this with me. They choose those because the goal is to look as sweet and innocent and enticing as possible, just to seemingly be benign, a part of something full of promise and hope and good cheer. When in reality, the evil plan behind the shiny imagery and flowery language is to get us to lower our guard, to stop seeing the real agenda, and just consider it, somewhat non-threatening, I guess. And yet, for the past several years, the world has truthfully been taken hostage by the Rainbow Mafia. They have pushed, cajoled, demanded, and required that corporations and athletes, major events, even the White House, celebrate them. Not just let them be, but actually celebrate them for a whole freaking month. I mean, veterans who served our nation at a time of war get 1 day, Veterans Day, one. The Rainbow Mafia, they want a month to celebrate their sexual orientation. By the way, with our rainbow. And to make sure the rainbow is front and center and can't be avoided, what do? They do things like, how about we paint it on a street and then get mad when people drive over it? I mean, why do they keep painting rainbow flags on the roads and crosswalks here in the U.S.? Why? Aren't they aware that people actually have to walk and drive there? They do. Aren't they aware they're going to get messed up, even tarnished? I mean, aren't they aware that some folks are going to be put off by it? I don't know, maybe even avoid going that way just to avoid having to look at their tax dollars being used for a massive, frivolous asphalt virtue signal. That some folks, by the way, are going to intentionally do just the opposite and leave their tire marks and their trash on the giant rainbow murals. Well, the answer to all that is yes. They know it. They know it in advance. They know it's going to happen. Every liberal city that paints a rainbow in the street knows exactly what's going to happen. They expect it. In fact, I would say they want it. They might even need it. Why do I say that? Well, they want the tire marks. They want the negative stories and about the so-called hate crimes as children on scooters mischievously leave scoot marks on their rainbows. That's how they validate their victimhood. They don't have any real lynchings or true hate crimes to speak of right now. So, transgenders and drag queens have been getting some bad press lately. So what better way to promote the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts than to show the world how hard it is to live in places where people actually drive on the roads and walk on the crosswalks on their rainbows. It's what the law calls an attractive nuisance. It might actually also be called an entrapment. Think about it. Entrapment occurs when an officer or a person under his or her control incites, induces, lures, or instigates a person into committing a criminal offense, which that person might not have otherwise committed and had no intention of committing had it not been for the entrapment. Could it be that the rainbow murals painted on crosswalks are actually there to attract people, even entrap people, into doing things that can then be lauded as the reason why the rainbow murals were needed in the first place? It's a circular argument. We need a rainbow mural, like put it on the street so everybody can see it. because we need awareness of our victimhood, but don't walk on it or drive on it. That's mean. See, he walked on it. I told you we were victims. It's so hard. We need more protection from these hate crimes. You see it? That's how it works. Circular argument. And so the attractive nuisance gets a fresh coat of paint, and the rainbow police wait and they watch for the next hapless traveler who's enticed and entrapped to leave a tread mark on the surface of roads that are otherwise covered in tread marks. Either way, the rainbow mafia wins, though, don't they? The feckless city leaders who paint the rainbow on the road will then face the legal action and bear all the costs. But the rainbow people, they got their hate crime. They attracted people with their nuisance. They entrapped them to an alleged crime. Here's an idea for you. How about this? Stop painting the roads. Put up a rainbow billboard if you need to be seen. Quit painting the roads and sidewalks of America. But the bottom line is the move right now to push the LGBTQ2IA+ acronym agenda has been reaching epic levels. More than ever, it was being forced on our children. The left is scrambling now, though, because they can't have it all anymore. They've overplayed their hand. They never know when to stop. I mean, how about this? Maybe you should have had Gay Pride Day. But no, you had to have Gay Pride Month, didn't you? Maybe you should have just stopped with, not trying to take away Bud Light cans, but you had to have Dylan Mulvaney, didn't you? They never know when to stop. The left is scrambling right now because they can't do it all anymore. There's a pushback on transgender girls in sports. There's a drag queen story hour for kids? No more. Gay pride celebrations at the Pentagon? Done. Rainbow flags at the White House? Not this year. It's been a mess of rainbow-colored vomit all over the floors of America, but the official support and the unofficial virtue signaling are finally on the decline because the rainbow mafia overplayed their hand. By the way, what I'm saying is not bigoted, and it wouldn't be if you said it either. It's not bigoted. I'm not a homophobe. I don't hold any ill will towards any adult who has chosen an alternative lifestyle. And I believe, by the way, that God does indeed love them as much as he loves me. But I will not long suffer any attempt by the progressive left to take what God created and distort it. The bottom line, I want our rainbow back. I do. I want our rainbow back. We are told in Genesis that the rainbow is a sign of God's promise, his promise of faithfulness, his mercy, his godliness. So yeah, some may say that taking the rainbow or co-opting the word gay or making the use of pronouns incorrect is just some kind of a cultural assimilation, the new way of doing things. I don't agree. I think it was an attempt to co-opt that which is good for something it was never intended to represent. And I say not on my watch. I want our rainbow back. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, there you have it. They always overplay their hand. The left never knows when to stop. And so they wore out their welcome. And the main thing they did was they abused the ability to have a rainbow symbol. And now it's on everything that is not meant to be. And I truthfully say, if God's going to say that's my sign of a promise, then I want it back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. I've got a bunch of texts. I love that. Thank you very much. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text it. Text it. Still having trouble with the phones. Just don't hold that over our head. We're having to basically revise equipment. That's what happens when your stuff gets fried in a big storm.
And potentially just getting a whole new system.
Stop it. Stop talking to me right now. Don't say another word. But yes, you may be right. Okay, let me get a few of those after I talk about Stan McDonald. Attorney Stan McDonald. So he's a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. And he's, listen, I know him personally, and I can tell you, he's not only really solid in the ability to legally advocate for you, but he's the kind of guy who's been in the mix, in the trenches as a warrior for all the conservative policies and politics that, right-side ruffians care about. He has been for decades. That being said, Attorney Stan McDonald has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He knows how to stand up for you in any local, state, or federal court. I'd like to say if Stan McDonald's on your side, you're going to have no greater friend. Likewise, your enemies would have no greater foe. So that being said, I'm going to give you his phone number so you can contact him if you need an attorney. You ready? Stan McDonald. The law firm is Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man. And here's his phone number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. Oh, yeah. No representation made. The quality legal service being formed is graded quality legal service for the lawyers. Oh, shut my mouth.
That was pretty good. I give it a 9.8.
9.8. 9.8. Pray tell, what form or fallibly or fallible did I have?
I don't know. You fudged a little bit the words together.
Oh,
However,
stop.
If you remember like a month ago, you weren't even in the 9s regularly. So,
no, I've worked my way up from the 7s. I stick the landing more often now.
Yeah.
All right, get a few text messages. Connor from Huntsville says, hey, Phil, it's Connor from Huntsville. How long before Norm Eisen goes with, I don't know what you're trying to tell me, and blocks Trump's reef rescission packages? Connor, that's such a specific question that I'm not sure how to even answer it. I will have to go back and take a look at what you mean. Chris from Gadsden says, Jefferson Davis's birthday is a state holiday. It will always be a state holiday because no one will agree to eliminate a holiday. If anyone's upset about a holiday for the Confederate president, they will have to come up with another name for it because it's not going away. You know, I saw that get introduced more than once in the legislature while I was there. And there were always a few who were willing to say, no, we're not taking it away. But yeah, Chris, you're probably right. It's a holiday. Good luck taking it away. Scott from Somerville. By the way, it's amazing to me that it survived the Biden era. They renamed Fort Benning, but they still kept Jefferson Davis holiday on the books.
Yeah, that is. They probably were too busy screwing up the nation in every other way that they didn't.
They didn't realize.
Yeah.
Scott from Somerville says, I don't go around telling people what I do in my bedroom. Why do the rainbow mafia types insist I know and condone what they do? You know, and that's the thing, Scott, is I've said this multiple times, and I said it in my monologue a minute ago. I have no ill will. I don't sit around condemning. But there's a vast difference between not condemning and being told to condone. That's two different things. I choose not to condemn, but you also can't make me just participate in this and condone it, right? All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, all you right side ruffians out there, you are listening to Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all are talking about this show, this show. I mean, it goes from Huntsville back on over to Chattanooga, from Tuscaloosa back on over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveless little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we get to call once again Fort Benning. Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi, just for good measure. And oh, by the way, that's just the radio audience. Thank you very much. Then there's all y'all out there in the whole wide world. Go to the World Wide Web and you watch us live streaming every single day on various platforms, to include our website, rightsidemedia.org, or pick it up on podcasts. Anyway, all I'm saying is there's a bunch of y'all and we love you. And thank you very much. Get a few more of these text messages because y'all are some texting machine. I'm loving this, by the way. I felt like our text lines were low the last couple of days. Like we were at a low ebb of energy. I don't know what's happening. Maybe it was Jefferson Davis holiday. That's maybe what it was.
Maybe.
Is it possible?
I don't know. That's issue.
Everybody's out barbecuing on the lake.
I guess so, yeah.
You know, hot dogs and beers down by the riverside. Too busy to text into Right Side because it was celebrating Jefferson Davis's holiday.
Hey, maybe onto something.
Could be. Bert from Owens Crossroads says, Phil, excellent monologue. Thank you, sir. Speaking of the abnormals, he says, Missoula, Montana. I love Missoula, Montana. Missoula City Council adopted a resolution on Monday night making the pride flag the official flag of the city of Missoula. That's jacked up. It is currently the only official flag. This comes in light of a recent Montana law that bans pride flags from being flown in government buildings and schools. That is like beyond a virtue signal. By the way, it's Montana. This is Montana. I mean, Missoula, that's the home of the smoke jumpers. Those are the people that learn how to jump out of perfectly good airplanes wearing protective gear into a forest fire and that's the place they're going to hang the pride flag.
One of the most red states in America.
I would have thought. It's also one of the most least populated. I mean, it's really spread out. But all right. Thank you, Bert. Appreciate you. David from Huntsville says, no flags at the White House for Pride Month, but the government doesn't celebrate heterosexuals either. Well, it's a point. We don't celebrate heterosexuals. We just love people. Dave from Capshaw says, I saw an article that said the Texas Rangers are the only Major League Baseball team that doesn't do anything for the homosexual month, or homosexual month. I guess that's what it is. It's Pride Month. Thank you. Pride.
I think they're the only ones that have never in their history done it. I'm starting to see some teams that used to starting to abandon it. And one of them is the Braves. This year they haven't done anything that I know of or going to do anything with it.
You say that, but you saw that off of a meme. Go right now to the Braves Twitter page, see if you can see. Is it still active in terms of being?
Oh yeah, the Braves still haven't. Yeah, they still
no
haven't.
rainbow.
Nope, no rainbow.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Connor from Athens says, great monologue. This is exactly why homeschooling's on the rise. Good point. He said, the everyday folks have had enough of this nonsense being shoved down our children's throats. Connor from Athens. Thank you, Connor. John from Huntsville checking in saying, Phil, amazing monologue. I want my rainbow back. Also, did you hear that Moscow vows revenge on Ukraine after recent drone attacks? By the way, JP, I'm hoping for some magnificent sound effects today. Okay, by the way, stepping back, speaking of which, let's go ahead and earn some points while you can. Missoula, Montana made the pride flag. Sounds like jackassery to me. Good job, man. You were quick on the draw there. I got Thomas from Athens. He says, I think the socialist progressives overplay their hands deliberately. It's easier and possibly more effective to take 2 steps forward and then just 1 step back and depend on those who have, quote, Christian guilt or, quote, white guilt or, quote, hetero guilt to accept that 1 step they succeeded as succeeding in. Wow, that's interesting point, Thomas. Appreciate you. Jeff Rowe, I got a couple more, then I gotta jump on our topics. Jeff Rowe from Indiana says, hey, Phil, actually, I feel sorry for people that are, of the LGBTQ life. Anyway, homosexuals. He says, I think it's a mental disorders like gender dysphoria or Asperger's or dyslexia. I don't look to, what's he saying? I don't look to what? I think it's a promote or encourage. I hope they will eventually find a cure for it. Okay, there you go. William from Huntsville says, as a young man, this June has been very refreshing so far. I hadn't been bombarded with rainbow propaganda for the first time in 10 years. I know, man. It is something else. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Last two. NASCAR, Tom from Decatur says, NASCAR must apparently be back. I saw today NASCAR star Chase Elliott refuses to celebrate Gay Pride Month. Good for him. Oh, NASCAR's back, I guess is what he's saying. Okay, cool. And then last one, Mike from Florence says, I identify as a lacosexual. Lacosexual. Okay, I'm not sure where to go here. Okay, I'm not even gonna read the rest of that text. That's just wrong, Mike. That's just wrong. Anyway, send me something I can read on the air, dude. Just stop.
I'm sorry.
Just don't encourage. Stop. Okay. All right, listen, we're going to keep talking here. So I got the first dipper. I'm calling it the fall of the Rainbow Mafia. So in the same vein, let's talk about this. Yeah, this is the first year when the vomiting of rainbows has not been near as prolific. And I'll tell you, it is refreshing. It is absolutely like better. And I said before, if somebody has chosen a lifestyle, listen, just don't shove it down my throat. There's absolutely nothing about your sexual orientation that deserves a month of anybody's time. A month of anybody's time. No, there's not. In fact, I would dare say it doesn't deserve a day. We don't have heterosexual Pride Day. We don't have girl Pride Day. We don't have boy Pride Day. Why are we doing this? What is the point? Well, it's awareness and it's celebration. And it's all those years we had to stay in the closet. No, it's not. It's called trying to normalize and trying to basically force people to condone. And so then you basically do your giant parades and you twist the arms of all the corporate officers to start, pushing money into it and hanging pride flags in the window and making sure that, their monogramming and all that is done, or their logos are done with pride flag. It's like I said before, they so overplayed their hand. I mean, remember when, and I pulled this article up first, Daily Wire, I pulled this piece from July of 2019. July of 2019, back when we weren't sure who was going to be the actual candidate for the Democrats. But July of 2019, in a move blasted by critics as egregious pandering, 3 Democratic presidential candidates added preferred pronouns to their social media bios. Can you guess who? Elizabeth Warren, Julian Castro, and Bill de Blasio all made sure their campaign account listed. I mean, everybody needed to know that Elizabeth Warren was a she, her. Okay, that's important. No, it's not. It is not. You know why? Because the English language already says you're a she, her. You don't get to change that. You don't get to rewrite the English language. It doesn't work that way. Well, today I feel like a he, him. Well, yesterday I felt, also like a he, him. Oh, you know why? Because I'm a freaking he, him. That's why. So how about this? Remember when this was all the rage? Well, we're in less of a rage right now. I've got a piece here, Daily Wire again, fast forward. So that was Daily Wire from July of 2019. Fast forward almost exactly 6 years. June 2025. And Matt Walsh is saying what I was saying a minute ago, that we are looking at what he calls the most irrelevant, low-energy Pride Month in the history of Pride Month. Yay. He says, after years of browbeating everybody into tolerating and then applauding and then participating in the disorder and dysfunction, people are simply too disgusted and annoyed to put up with it anymore. He points out a couple things that I've got a couple of other articles on that I might expand on more, but one of them is the city of Boise, Idaho. It's kind of like being in, downtown Birmingham, Alabama. It's a blue dot in the middle of a red state. But Boise, Idaho, a far left stronghold in a typically conservative state, just had to cancel, literally last week, canceled their Pride Month kickoff. Why? Why would this be? The city had just like Missoula, Montana, the city of Boise, their leadership had just named the pride flag as the official government flag for the month of June. Wow. Do you have a womp womp womp? You do, don't you? Give me a womp womp womp. Just, I'm going to get you all the points I can get today, man. Why did they cancel their Pride Month kickoff event? Why? Pray tell, Phil, what happened? Insufficient attendance. They couldn't sell any tickets. Nobody was buying. They're like, we're going to have to cancel because ain't nobody coming. And then you got major groups like Meta, Anheuser-Busch, Comcast that have all dropped out of San Francisco's Pride Parade, which, by the way, San Francisco's Pride Parade is a Sodom and Gomorrah event. It ought to be a censored event. I mean, if you take your kids down there, you know full well what you're exposing them to, because there's a lot of exposing going on, if you know what I mean. One quarter of corporate donors who used to give to Pride events have all either eliminated or reduced their contributions this year, according to one study. You got in Canada, same thing. Google, Home Depot, Nissan, Adidas, Clorox have all pulled out of the Toronto Pride Parade. What's happening here is, like I said, they overplayed their hand. Matt Walsh says the movement is fundamentally narcissistic. That's why they call it Pride in the first place. He said, but if you look around, you're seeing the changes. There was one, in fact, I saw this, trying to think who it was now, posted on social media, on Twitter's where I saw it, X, had two pictures. It was basically June of last year and June of this year in the same clothing department at Target. Last year, it was nothing but rainbows and LGBTQ propaganda T-shirts and whatever else. This year, it's American flag stuff. Things that, like, most of America would want to buy. But yeah, we are watching right now as the big brands are actually staying fairly quiet. I mean, they're still doing some things, but they are not being held hostage. Why? Because in my opinion, it's the fall of the Rainbow Mafia. They've lost their mojo. And the corporations are finally saying, you know what? We don't have to play that game anymore. Let's take a break right now, JP. We'll take that break. We'll come right back. I got more on this. Fall of the Rainbow Mafia. It's real. It's real. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Man, bulletproof influence. That's what it is. Bulletproof influence. By the way, we got a new batch of those bulletproof influence glasses coming. That reminds me. We had to restock. Y'all pretty much bought us out. So the online merchandise store at rightsidemedia.org. We have all our hats and t-shirts, everything else on there. We've had these really cool things. I saw them somewhere and I thought, I got to have those for us. I do. It's a company called Benshot. I'm just chasing a rabbit here. I'm enjoying this. It's a company called Benshot, and they take glasses, like drinking glasses, and they actually embed a bullet in the side of the glass. Like they heat it up and embed it in there. And so the bullet is embedded, but it didn't go all the way through. Hence, it's a bulletproof glass. So what I did was I had them engrave. They were custom made just for us. I had them engrave in highball glasses the Rightside Media logo with the big words "Bulletproof Influence" engraved right under it. You can see them on our website. Check it out, rightsidemedia.org. There's a shop tab. And we actually do have a promo code. Now that I'm saying all that, you can get them at 10% discount right now. But we just had to order more because we're just about sold out. They've been a hot item. So if you want one, get it while you can. And more is coming. We just ordered them recently, and they should be here like any day. Benshot glasses, Rightside Media, Bulletproof Influence. All right, bunch of y'all are texting in. I'll catch up with you here momentarily. Let me just do this. I'm jumping back on this topic. The fall of the Rainbow Mafia. Oh, what a difference a little leadership change makes. I hold here in my calloused former paratrooper hands a piece from CNN that points out, Dateline was yesterday, and it's got a lot of stuff in here, but it points out that basically for the last several years, the whole Pride Month thing was a big splashy marketing event, right? All the big brands, all the stores, rainbow flags everywhere, displaying LGBTQ themed t-shirts, coffee mugs, changing all their logos on their social media, spotlighting their donations to the LGBTQ groups, and participating. There's a thing, it's called the Human Rights Campaign Scorecard on Corporate Policies. You know what it is? It's basically, we're going to dox you if you don't do it right. That's what it is. So the Human Rights Campaign is the biggest lobbying group for gay rights issues. And it's not, and they're a super liberal organization. And it's not just about the gay rights stuff for them now. Now it's about transgender surgeries for kids. It's about keeping transgenders in girls' sports. It's about, they're in for all of it. And there's one, I won't say his name because he's still around, but there's one lobbyist who used to come try to see me down in, try to see me. He would see me. He's a nice guy. But I nicknamed him Herc because Herc would come see me and he would represent the Human Rights Campaign. Herc, what do you got today? Well, Senator, I knew I had to talk to you because they said that if you didn't approve the bill, nobody was going to vote for it. Well, you're probably right. What you got, Herc? Well, we got a thing. We want to try and make, a protected class under state law for the LGBTQ community. Ain't going to work, Herc. Okay, I knew that when I came in, but I thought I'd check. Like, and he would be like apologetic and then walk back out the door. But the big brands this year are staying pretty quiet. Article here from CNN says 39% of the organizations that have backed Pride Month engagements are reducing their spend on it. That's a survey of more than 200 different corporate executives from a group called Gravity Research. It's a full-on review of big-time corporate, Fortune 500 companies. All these consumer brands, they're wary about provoking right-wing customers, they say, right-wing activists. They fear reprisal from the Trump administration. Let me just point something out. It's not in the article, but I'm going to say it. The whole Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light thing, that didn't happen because of Trump. That happened because of a bad idea by a really flawed person working in a really awful, mindset at Anheuser-Busch. That was nothing to do with Trump. That had nothing to do with where we are today. That happened in the middle of the Biden administration. That was the first major overplay of the hand. Well, not the first, but it was probably the one that was the straw that broke the camel's back. How about that? And then you got, all the things like transgenders in sports. And you look at why Riley Gaines is famous now. Why do you think Riley Gaines is famous? Because she's a great advocate who had to put up with competing against a dude who couldn't compete well in men's sports. So he decided to say he was a woman and began to beat women in Division I collegiate swimming. Well, this particular article says, by weaponizing federal agencies, many businesses have now stopped participating. That's got nothing to do with it. Nobody's weaponizing anything. They're saying no more DEI. And oh, by the way, they're saying the White House is not going to have transgender activists going topless on the White House lawn while pride flags hang from the rotunda. We're not. It's basically saying we're not going to be in this big movement with you. If you want to live that way, that is your choice. But we're not going to decorate the people's house that way. We're not going to turn on the rainbow colored lights at night. We're not. So yeah, they point out in the article that Bud Light and Target, they're the ones who first had the chilling effect on corporate strategies. And it didn't happen because of Trump. It happened because they overplayed their hand and people got sick of it. And now they don't have the air cover of a Biden administration. So, yeah. One of the ones I find interesting. Remember how Target had the whole gay pride and transgender clothing with, chest binders and tuck pants for children? Remember that? How freaking awful is that? I mean, just okay, beyond gross. Target, though, has scaled back completely. In fact, what I find interesting is the article points out that Target is not responding to the Rainbow Mafia right now. They are only selling their multi-category collection of home, pets, books, and vinyl and adult apparel and accessories to celebrate Pride Month in what they call select stores. I'm guessing in San Francisco they've got it, but in Dallas, Texas, they probably don't. Just saying. The Pride Mafia losing its mojo. I'll tell you a little bit more about this and get a bunch of text messages when we get back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 on a Taco Tuesday. Text lines are open. Text it. What are you thinking? 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Give me your input. I got a ton of y'all that I'll be catching up on here in just a minute. I'm about to wrap up this dipper, calling this the fall of the Rainbow Mafia. You know, and just to summarize, in case you missed any of the last segment, the bottom line is this. Ain't nobody trying to beat nobody up because they got an alternative lifestyle. Just quit trying to demand that we get on board with it. Quit trying to demand that our kids have to have rainbow flags in their classrooms for things to be okay. Quit trying to demand that corporations pay money and then virtue signal their support of your cause for an entire freaking month. Like, how about this? Recognize that nobody else gets a month. Nobody. There's no month of this and month of that. Why are we doing a month for sexual orientation pride? Why? Why is that? I'll tell you why. It's because the Rainbow Mafia overplays their hands so much. I mean, the progressive left does that in general, right? But the Rainbow Mafia go way overboard, and they wore out their welcome to the point that ain't nobody wants to play the game anymore. So I got a couple more that I'll show you here just to tell you where things are. Boise Pride season kickoff canceled due to low attendance. Cracks me up. I got this from Idaho News, CBS affiliate out there in Idaho News. The Pride season kickoff, initially scheduled for June 6th, has been canceled due to insufficient attendance. Apparently, they're selling tickets ahead of time, trying to get their costs down. Despite strong online enthusiasm, it says. Well, we had a lot of strong online enthusiasm, which materialized into nothing.
Just because some folks are louder than others doesn't mean there's more of those folks than others.
Yeah.
Just say that.
Just because somebody posts on your social media page using all caps does not mean you got a lot of followers.
Oh man, we had a lot of support with, but every username had a rainbow flag in their profile. So I wonder if that's
and they were from all over the world and not necessarily from Boise.
Yes. Yeah.
The event was intended to enhance the LGBTQ plus visibility and community connection in June, serving as a precursor to the main Boise Pride celebration coming up in September. They got another one in September.
For now.
Okay. Here's the part that cracks me up the most, though. Organizers remain optimistic. Viewing this as an opportunity, here's what they said. Viewing this as an opportunity to, quote, reflect, reset, and come back stronger. How about this? Reflect on the fact that nobody wanted to be a part of your event. There's an idea for you. Like, maybe you've overplayed your hand. Last couple of things I'll show out is probably one of the most egregious and domineering versions of the Rainbow Mafia overplaying its hand was what happened with the Department of Education during the Biden administration and the complete reimagining of what Title IX really means. And then basically saying, hey, transgenderism in schools, don't have to tell the parents, boys can be in girls' locker rooms, it's all good. And oh, by the way, if you don't do it, we're going to take away the lunch money. That was happening. That was the Rainbow Mafia bending the will of the Department of Education so they could get a nationwide platform to launch their dogma. Guess what? Moms for Liberty, I got a piece off their social media this morning. Moms for Liberty announcing that to mark the 53rd anniversary of Title IX, the Department of Education is announcing investigations into 2 violations of federal law protecting women's space and sports. They also said, oh, by the way, the Department of Education is not going to be recognizing June as Pride Month. They're calling it Title IX Month at the Department of Education now. It's awesome. You need some applause or something. You better get your sound effects going, man. You got to be in it. Okay, there you go. On that same thing, too, Daily Wire points out that the Department of Education will spend June highlighting the Trump administration's actions taken to protect female sports and spaces, reversing the weaponization of Title IX that took place during the previous administration. And the festivities offer a stark contrast to the Pride Month celebrations of the Biden Education Department that focus on gender ideology, critical race theory, and DEI. Linda McMahon's in charge over there. I'm pretty sure someone's going to get thrown out of the ring if they try to mess with her. You see what I did there?
Either that or Triple H, her son-in-law.
Oh yeah,
Or,
yeah. Please. Yeah.
I will say though, one group or corporation, organization, whatever, that has not had the awakening that the culture is shifting and that this is not really welcome by a majority of people anymore is Sesame Street. Sesame Street put up a post.
They had a drag queen yesterday, didn't they?
Well, I don't know about that. I saw they did put up a post though about Pride Month, saying that everyone is accepted or whatever. That in my opinion should classify as grooming, because if you are a kid's show and you're putting up something supporting LGBTQ month or Pride Month or whatever, you're trying to sway your young impressionable minds that watch you into being gay. That's what you're doing. And if there was a straight, say there's a straight man who wants to talk about his sex life to kids, he rightfully so would be called a creep and probably arrested. But if you flip the table and then you try to talk to kids about your gay sex life, oh, that's great. And actually, we're going to endorse that. And think if you question it, then you're a homophobe or whatever. It's crazy to me that Sesame Street has to be held accountable for that, in my opinion.
I've noticed, by the way, I just did a quick Google search on what you were talking about to see if I could pull up. So a piece that came out today from, and I may need to have to wash my computer because I'm looking at it from Pink News, which is a LGBTQ activist organization. Anyway, Pink News headline is Republicans claim that PBS is grooming kids with their Sesame Street Pride post. Yeah, we do. They are. That's exactly what's happening. Anyway, all right, listen, I got a ton of text messages I'm going to get caught up on, but you guys are an amazing audience. I'm just loving the fact, though, that the fall of the Rainbow Mafia appears to be real. They have lost their mojo. And ain't nobody saying they're trying to repeal the law. Obergefell is still the law. You can still have same-sex marriage. It's the law of the land. It is the law of the land. No one's saying, we're going to repeal that law. We're not saying, you got to get back in the closet. What we're saying is quit trying to shove it down everybody's throats. You don't need a whole month. You're overplaying your hand. How about just live? Just leave everybody else alone. Mark from Red Bay checking in. He says Clorox pulled out of the gay pride events due to things going on that even Clorox couldn't clean up. You gotta find a sound effect for that, man. That was epic. It is. That was good. That was awesome. Dave from Capshaw says there's a trans week in November. I saw a list that said that basically there's a different version because, the LGBTQ2IA plus yada, 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 yada acronym, everybody's got their own day. And then they have one acronym, which, by the way, is actually like this long. I found a thing online and read it one time about what the longest version of the acronym actually is. I want to say it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 72 letters. It was ridiculous. Kim from Athens says, I want to add that as I have watched the news online concerning Pride Month, many gay people are now shunning Pride. Okay. You know what? I think partly because they recognize that they overplayed the hand and they're burning down the house is what's happening. They are literally burning down the house. Mac from Athens says, Phil, we are blaming the wrong party for this transgender crap. The blame falls totally on one person, Bruce Jenner. Okay. He said when he did his insanity on the biggest show on TV, he was the poster man for every introvert lover to get attention. There you go.
You know what's really weird about that, though, is he's a Republican now.
That's yes.
And he's actually spoken out against, mutilation of children and imposing it on. So it's kind of weird. I agree with Mac. It's weird, though, that he's not. I think that they're taking what he did and running with it way, way, way too far down the radical end. So It is bizarre.
It is bizarre. Well, he's bizarre, too.
Yes.
Let's be honest. Bruce Jenner, as a kid, was a hero. He was on the Wheaties box, man. Dude was a stud back then. John from Huntsville, JP, have you seen those ridiculous LGBT sandwiches? What?
He sent a picture of it. It's
I don't want to see it.
LGBT, but it stands for lettuce, guacamole, bacon, and tomato. Okay.
Anyway, doesn't sound very appetizing. Tom from Decatur says there's Black History Month. There is Black History Month. I guess that's true. Maybe okay. Then I have misspoken. I still don't think a sexual orientation month is really required. Matt from Madison says profits are a hard driver. Yes, they are. Corporate boardrooms finally woke up and said, would you stop? Did you see what happened to Anheuser-Busch? Don't put us there. We have a fiduciary obligation to our shareholders. Yep. Dave from Cortland says, hey, Phil, it's Dave from Cortland. How would you label rainbow sherbet? It's a very happy flavor. That was my favorite as a kid. I love rainbow sherbet.
I'm not a big sherbet guy myself, as if I've not had it very much.
Sherbet's good.
And I don't doubt that.
Maybe we need to have sherbet day. We'll get you totally in on sherbet.
Not
Why
the
is it
rainbow
called sherbet?
sherbet.
Why is it called sherbet?
I don't know.
Is it sherbet or sherbet? Sherbet.
Sherbet.
Sherbet?
Yeah.
You're
sherbet.
making that up.
No, it's sherbet.
Jeremy from Madison says, the fall of the Rainbow Mafia. Time to sing a victory song. Glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Perfect. Thomas from Athens again. He says, by the way, Taco Tuesday is great. So are tacos. But the TikTok video of Eric Swalwell touting the meme acronym TACO, which stands for Trump Always Chickens Out, just turns my stomach. Is that all they got? That was the most awkward, ill-conceived, who thought this up, cringy social media video. Of course, it was Eric Swalwell, so it would have to be. But I still look at him and think, he got beat up a lot as a kid. He had to have. A lot of dirt kicked in his face on the playground.
He was the one, too, that was sleeping with a Chinese spy.
Yeah, Fang Fang.
How did that just go away?
just dating Fang Fang, and that's okay. Because
caught on video. Wasn't it Veritas who caught him admitting that? I think it was.
Probably.
It's amazing how that's just went away, disappeared.
But he's a Democrat. That's how that works.
It's true.
David from Tuscumbia says, I forgot I was just now streaming the show. Prior comment was, oh, okay. Okay. I don't know what he said. He says the previous comment was, would that not be defacing public property? And what are we talking about? Oh, paintings in the streets. If it's done by the officials who own the streets, probably not. But it still makes no sense whatsoever. He's talking about during the monologue, I pointed out that the rainbow flag being painted on a street is like an invitation for someone to do something to it so they can then validate why they're victims. That's what's happening with that. It's entrapment. Mike from Coxie says, Colonel Phil, just thought I'd let everyone know I identify as a good old boy. My pronouns are he and haw. Nice. John from Harvest, last two here, says, Phil, good monologue. Since we're celebrating one of the 7 deadly sins, I'm going to skip pride and hold out for gluttony. I hear the party food and drink is better. I don't know if he wrote that himself or pulled it from somebody, but you know what? That was pretty epic. You're not even giving him a sound effect, man. What is?
Oh, do I need to give him a laughing sound effect?
John's gonna take away points. You gotta. And then lastly, and this is where I think we need to end this, is David from Huntsville says, just be proud and leave everyone else alone. There you go. Take it to a break, JP. We'll take that break. We'll come right back. It's time to jump on some other stuff. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just, I mean, like, man, just saving the world one soundbite at a time. I got a text in from Bert from Owens Crossroads. I've got some people in this audience who have lived some extremely interesting lives. So Bert from Owens Crossroads, he may be like in the top 10 interesting listeners we've got. I don't know. But he heard me talk about Missoula smoke jumpers a while ago, and he sent me pictures of when he used to fly the planes for the Missoula smoke jumpers, and then he's got a picture of like one of his planes with the fire retardant coming out the back of it as it drops. That's the thing. I mean, that like when we used to like sit around waiting on a jump, somebody would always say, you know what I was thinking, man? They're always hiring out there in Missoula, and we're already paratrooper trained, right? We're already airborne qualified. We go out there and we get to jump all the time, and we jump into, and it would always be like a 10-minute conversation that never went anywhere. Although it was pretty cool.
That is a pretty cool job, I would assume.
That's a bossy job, man. It's a dangerous job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can just tell you right now that they jump static line. So they're jumping static line with all this equipment. And I've they're jumping with padded suits and I've heard padded suits and face masks and everything else because they're jumping into trees. As paratroopers, we try to avoid trees.
Mm-hmm.
They're having to jump where the fire is, not where the drop zone is. And so the drop zone is wherever the fire is, that's where they jump. And they're jumping in and then, making a fire line, do what they got to do. It's just those guys. I tell you what, they don't get paid enough.
I agree.
So listen, we're going to start a new topic here in a minute. I'm calling it Waste No Time. I'll kick it off by saying there's a brand new poll that came out. It's a CNN SRSS poll. It's a real poll. It's a big deal. It was done over a period of weeks in the month of May. And it's a startling new revelation. Not really if you're paying attention, but it's a startling new revelation, says the Populous Times, of the Democrat Party's declining popularity. I mean, everything is cyclic, in politics. I will just say the party who's in vogue today may not be in vogue again later. So there's an old saying that in campaigning that a week is a lifetime in politics because anything can happen in a week. Things can change. The fickle whims of society can move the undecideds in different directions pretty easily. There's always those who are on the base. The base of each side tends to stay where they are, but it's those people that run through the middle that don't know. And I vote for the man, or whatever. But right now, what we're seeing is that by and large, in a bipartisan fashion, according to this CNN's SRSS poll that just came out, only 16% of Americans, 16%, only 16% of Americans believe the Democrat Party has strong leadership. I want to know who the 16% are. Like, what are they smoking? They've been hanging out with Ben and Jerry's a little too long. Special gummies and all that.
The same people who voted for Kamala. So they're not very, common sense people.
White dudes for Harris.
Yep.
Yeah. Tim Waltz fan club. The first rule of Tim Waltz fan club is no one talks about Tim Waltz fan club. Just saying.
Is that the rule? That's
the rule. No one wants to be associated. The interesting dynamic here is the poll came out, and like I said, it's a CNN poll. So CNN reporters Manu Raju and David Chalian were basically taken aback. They're live on TV, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's how Americans see the parties." No, that's how Americans see the Democrats. And they tried to mitigate it. They see the parties that way. It wasn't the Republicans at 16%. It was the Democrats. So that being said, this should be a wake-up call, not just for Democrats. This should be a wake-up call for Republicans. Why? Because if we waste this opportunity, shame on us. While they are down, we got to kick them. I'm just saying. Listen, call me heartless if you want to, but when you see on the battlefield a weakness in your enemy, you exploit the weakness. You don't sit back and wait for them to regroup. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast US of A. I'm talking about this show. I mean, it goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, all the way down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to what we get to call once again Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And oh, by the way, that's just the radio. Thank you to all y'all that also tune in live streaming every single day on Facebook and our website and X and Rumble and all the other places, and YouTube. And oh, by the way, all y'all that podcast it too. It's an audience that makes this worthwhile. So thank you very much. I am in number 2 of the Triple Dipper for the day. I'm calling it Waste No Time. I was telling you right before the break that a new poll just came out that shows that only 16%, this is a real poll, a CNN poll, and then CNN acted surprised. What? I mean, that's what? How about 16% of Americans believe the Democrat Party has strong leadership. CNN's Manu Raju, when he heard that, all he could say was, wow. That's it. Wow. You think? I mean, they're feckless. They're falling apart. They lost big. They lost huge. They trounced their own candidates. They had a guy with dementia sitting in the Oval Office, and then they tried to put up the cackler in chief to take his place. I mean, the whole thing has been just a complete debacle. Like the policies, the economy, the energy sector, the border, national defense, name it. Name a thing they did right. And the only way you can say right is if you are a true liberal and you liked doing all that stuff. Democratic Party also trailed the GOP on whether Americans believed it was the party of action. According to the CNN poll, only 19% believe the Democratic Party can, quote, get things done. Who are these 19%? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's the question.
I mean, you don't have the majority of the House, the Senate, the White House. You've lost multiple states. You lost chunks of California in the last election. I mean, we picked up like 10 counties in California. So I look at this and go, who are the 19% that think the Democrats we can get stuff done? Well, not if you keep up this pace. But here's the thing. Here's my point in all this. It's not just to berate Democrats. We could do that all day long if we wanted to. And you know what? The bottom line is this. This is not time for Republicans to go, well, we can't beat them up too bad because they're down. No, that's when you beat them up. This is battlefield. This is street rules. This is for all the marbles. You don't look at the Democrats while they're down and go, well, we'll wait till they're back up and they can fight a little more. Screw that. Go for it, man.
That's been our biggest criticism of the Alabama Republicans.
Yes.
And I really don't want to see that become a problem at the federal level because truthfully, Trump doesn't have 4 years to get his agenda done. He has 2.
That's right.
Because, I mean, too many times we've seen Republicans not show up in the mid-election, primaries in between presidential elections. So if somehow we fumbled 2026 and didn't get what needed to be done within the first 2 years, it's like, great. We just ruined a perfect opportunity where we had control of House, Senate, and White House, like you said. Now is the time. We can't just, we got 4 years, so. Yep,
absolutely. So what do we do with it? How about this? There's several things. I'm just going to give you a few, all right? I mean, we could go all day on all the things the Republicans ought to be trying to get done right now while they can. Now, the big, beautiful bill is a thing, all right? And let me pull this article. I got an article from The Hill here. I will tell you there's breaking news, like just in the last, hour on Elon Musk? Is that, I'd say the last hour or so.
Right before the show started.
Okay, last couple hours, but even still. Elon Musk just, the Trump administration wants the, quote, big, beautiful bill passed. Elon Musk just came out and called it disgusting. He said he could no longer contain himself, that this was a disgusting abomination in his words, and that this bill shouldn't be passed, and that some of those who voted for it should be ashamed. I got to say, I disagree. Now, if there's things buried in there that I've not seen, please show me what they are. I get it. I want to see more done. I want to see more cuts. I want to see the codification of Doge efforts. And I think that's part of what he's feeling burned about, is that he spent all this time and got doxxed and got just trounced by Tesla's being set on fire, all these things happening. I think he's feeling beat up about it. But he's committed to the idea of downsizing government and not upsizing spending. I disagree with him on this one. I think this bill is still the only thing we've got. And at some point, you have to recognize you can only pass what you can pass. And if you want $10 trillion in cuts, but you can't get that to pass, well, you can take 100% of nothing, or you can get an 80% solution and get it passed and then keep working for the more. So that's kind of where we are on this, in my opinion. But right now, one of the things that we've got to do, literally got to do, is start getting some of this legislation passed. One of them is, and I completely agree with this. So DeRoy Murdoch, I met him at a conference not long ago, last few years ago, actually. DeRoy Murdoch writes for Daily Signal, great guy, just very humble, very solid. But he wrote a piece that says we need to ditch the COVID spending spree. And the headline says from Daily Signal, Congress can save $1.1 trillion by simply returning to the 2019 budget trajectory. You know what they call that? Pre-COVID spending. Go back to pre-COVID spending levels. COVID became the excuse for anything and everything that every big government, junkie wanted. How much you want? Pork barrel spending? Sure, we'll do it. What do you want to spend it on? Anything? Finding out like whether or not cats like FaceTime? That's awesome. How much do you want to spend on it? Green energy, paying people not to work, racist roads, just name it. It was an agenda item, pork barrel spending, and it was through the roof. Well, DeRoy Murdoch points out, he says fiscal conservatives have been arguing the federal government should spend as it did before COVID-19 ruined everything. He says, thankfully, the pandemic is now in the rearview mirror, but a few diehards are clinging to their masks and growing misty when they missed it. But the reality is, domestic discretionary baseline for fiscal year 2026 is $1.89 trillion. In August of 2019, it was $1.3 trillion. Still sounds like a lot, but when you think about the fact that that's $565 billion less in spending, and all we're doing is getting rid of the pork, go for it. How about this? One of the things that we need to do while Democrats are reeling and people don't believe they even have the mojo to get anything done and they have no leadership is start passing stuff like this. That is absolutely an imperative, in my opinion. How about this? The Hill has a big piece today. It came out. House awaits the package to codify Doge cuts. You and I talked about that in the studio here recently. I do not believe that Doge should be seen in the annals of history as a flash in the pan, neat idea that was a total PR move. If they let it be a PR move, we failed. I think that's part of why Elon Musk is so mad.
100%. That's why he's angry.
I mean, the dude gave up.
He didn't have to do what he did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
He put his neck out on the line to do that.
Senate Republicans have signaled they plan to make their imprint on the new big, beautiful bill. Don't know if it's going to ratchet up the spending cuts or water them down. We don't know what's going to happen with Medicaid. We don't know about rolling back the green energy tax credits, all those things that need to get taken care of. But what we're also looking at right now is the House Republicans are waiting on the White House right now to send over a package that it wants to codify certain of the Doge cuts. So, and I like this. By the way, this is what can happen when you actually have control of the White House and both houses of Congress. If you got the House, the Senate, and the White House, you can actually put together a concerted package like, hey, White House says, we'd like to do this. What do you think? House goes, we can work with that. Let us massage it on our end. Checks and balances are in place, but nonetheless, it's like a big team effort. Well, right now, House Republicans, it says, according to The Hill, are waiting on the White House to send over a package to claw back billions of funding, billions, as the GOP conference looks to formally codify the cuts that DOJ made during the first few months of the Trump administration. Why does it have to be codified? Because that makes it law. Some of the stuff is going to be like, those green energy tax credits, that has to get repealed because Congress put it in place. Some of these things are going to be like the cuts to USAID, that's going to have to be codified in the long run. Some of these things like, massive bloated DEI hires that filled up the ranks of the government service employees. As we're doing a reduction in force, that has to be codified. Otherwise, they'll just hire them right back when the administration changes one day. So all these things are okay to move forward right now. And some of them we're scrapping with the courts on it. But the reality is if Congress acts to codify these things, it becomes law. It becomes real. And it's a whole lot harder for the Dems to overturn later. I think this has to happen. I think if we don't do this, shame on us. If we let DOJ be nothing more than a soundbite, then we don't deserve the majority that we have. In fact, I'll say that we'll lose the majority because Democrats will get their footing under them one day and they'll run against us as being feckless and saying that we don't have what it takes to get the job done. And I got news. When the Democrats are in charge, don't think for a second they won't move in lockstep to just crush. Look what they did with the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act. Look what they did with, all the spending they had during COVID. They went absolutely bananas. Nobody could stop it. And if we don't fix this right now, we got a chance. Shame on us. Taking a break right now. We'll take that break. We'll come right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. So I got this segment I'm doing right now called Waste No Time. Waste no time. Please, Republicans, do not blow this opportunity. The poll that I read you at the beginning says that CNN poll just came out. Even the CNN reporters were like kind of stunned. It says that in a very large scale poll, taken over weeks, a CNN SRSS poll found that literally only 16% of Americans believe the Democrat Party has strong leadership. Only 19% believe that Democrats can get things done. What that means is we are in the mode right now where you on the battlefield, when you see your enemy down, that's when you exploit their weaknesses and you drive the wedge. You get in there and you get it done. You engage the breach. And if we just, let's take our time. Let's give them a chance. Give them more time at the microphone. Let's make sure that they can. We don't want to make it hard for them. Because one day we might not be the ones in charge, and we don't want to. I heard that so many times in Montgomery. Well, we got to be careful because one day we're not going to be the ones in charge, and we're not. How about you know what? You might stay in charge if you'll be in charge.
Never in our lifetime, or maybe mine, hopefully not, but I'd say majority of Alabamians' lifetime, Democrats will not be in charge. So that's such a lazy, one day we might not be. Come on, really?
You got, right now, Democrats are such a rare commodity in Montgomery that it's silly to say that. And on the national level, I realize we have very narrow majorities in the House and Senate. I get it. You still got to exploit the weaknesses while you can. And by the way, it's not all about spending. There are other things going on. I'm not a single issue guy. One of the things I really want is accountability. And some of this is going to require some serious backbone. It's going to require some people who have some props, if you know what I'm saying. People who are willing to step up to the plate and go, I see that, and I'm going to find out more, and I'm going to fix it. Like, for instance, I got a piece here from Red State. Headline: Department of Justice is launching a bombshell investigation into the Biden pardons. Was he competent enough to have even issued them? I completely agree. I mean, we're looking at right now a scandal of scandals. Keep in mind, like 48 hours before he left office, just 48 hours. You remember that? He pardoned his own family. The Biden family got it. 37 other individuals who had death row sentences, had them all converted to life in prison. I mean, he's doing all these preemptive pardons for people that haven't even asked for a pardon. You got people like General Milley getting pardons for people may be mad, but no one's brought an indictment. What are you pardoning him for? Well, who ever heard of this? The question right now is, can he really do this? Is it possible for us to see this being overturned? I don't know, but you know what? We need to find out. It's not like I want death row guys to go back on death row per se, but I do know this: what happened is a travesty of justice. And as we watch this happen, with the auto pen just like, burning up the ink, just literally just like burning up the ink, you gotta wonder, did he even know what was happening? I want to know. America deserves to know, what was the guy doing who was in the White House? Did he have the competency? Did he have the capability? Did he even care? Did he grant authority for the use of the auto pen? Did he phone it in from his beach house in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware? Anyway, the bottom line is this: Ed Martin with the Department of Justice is now looking into whether or not Biden was competent. Here's the quote: was competent, and whether others were taking advantage of him using the auto pen or other means. And the focus of the investigation is on all of these pardons. Do you know, by the way, Biden pardoned more people in his last year than than any other president like basically all presidents over the last century combined.
Yeah.
2,500 in one day on one of the swash. I mean,
that is one of the biggest pieces of evidence that shows no human being let alone Biden and his state, could do something like that. So it was like all of his millennial staffers who had access to the auto pen just cranking them out. So yes,
it became an agenda and not just a case by case review of whether somebody had things, had been, overly sentenced or had been sentenced under laws that no longer exist. It was none of that. It was just basically it was an agenda. When you commute every sentence on death row in federal prison, every single one of them, that's no longer a case by case basis. That's actually nothing more than an agenda. And you got to wonder, did he know he was doing it? I want to know. And by the way, if we waste our time and don't do this while we can, we'll never know, because they will bury it and we'll never find out. So I'm saying get her done, folks. Get her done. Waste no time. Go street rules on it and get it done while you can, because now is the time. You may never get this big of an opportunity again. Democrats are reeling, and it is absolutely time. Got a ton of text messages, you guys. I'm going to start diving into text messages right after we get back. I bet there's at least 20 or more lined up right now in the queue. Loving this. The text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. And last thing on the way out the door for this break, I will just tell you, if you go to rightside.org, on the shop tab for t-shirts, hats, bin shot glasses, all the stuff that we have in our merchandise store, it's all 10% off if you use the promo code Just Right. That's the promo code Just Right. Go get you some stuff, 10% off, compliments of us. All right, man. Well, listen, the music's about to play, but I'll just say it's going to frustrate the stew out of me. I recognize it'll give me more to talk about if Republicans fail on this mission they're on right now. But I think I'd just rather have nothing to talk about, just to be honest. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. just said. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3 on a Taco Tuesday. Hour number 3 on a Taco Tuesday. Text lines are going bananas right now. Hey, Yellow Dog Mike is back. Where you been, Yellow Dog? Here, boy. Yellow Dog. Okay, so Yellow Dog's here. He just says, so you want to compare pardons of Biden versus Trump? Should we make a list? MAGA has no shame. Yeah, about that. I know what he's talking about. He's still mad because January 6th people got. Listen, that's the biggest travesty of justice. But okay, Yellow Dog, you're just feeling bad for you right now.
For all I know, Trump hasn't blindly pardoned his entire family for crimes they haven't even
pretty sure that's true.
committed yet. So
yeah, and like pardoning himself or anything,
and Fauci and yeah,
all of it. Steve from Tennessee says if Biden was unfit to be tried, then how is he fit to prevent others from trial? Steve, as always, incisive. That was perfect. John C. from Madison said all those pardons were a mockery of justice. Yep. Ron from Tuscumbia says kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down, kick them when they're up, and kick them all around. And now I'm going to be singing that the rest of the day. Little dirty laundry. Allie Mathis checking in. She says street rules. Me likey. That's you're welcome to use it. Take it, run with it. Steve from Madison says the big beautiful bill is full of pork and adds up to $5 trillion to the debt, to the dent. I think it means the debt. It's the definition of irresponsibility. Grow a pair. Don't add a dime to the national debt and declare victory. Steve, that sounds easy. That sounds done. Here's what's going to happen. What you're not playing into account is they can't get anything passed without certain other things being there. They didn't add debt. They added debt limit. All right. And I realize what that means is the credit card now has more room for them to work with. And I get that. And I'm not for it either. But the truth of the matter is, if we didn't extend the debt limit and we were stuck with certain things, that the Democrats would hold it over our heads in a big way and we would get nothing passed because they would keep tying it together. So we're basically working around them by doing this. Go ahead.
So Mike Johnson put up a tweet, kind of responding to Elon Musk and said that now that Doge has identified wasteful spending, it is being quantified by the administration, codified by Congress via the rescissions process and appropriations process. Can you kind of explain what the rescissions process? Because I've seen pocket rescissions and people claiming that they're going, maybe it's not in the bill directly, but pocket rescissions are going to, put in some Doge cuts like that. I guess I don't understand how that works.
So my recollection is, and I could be wrong, but my recollection of this is once they have legislatively passed certain spending, they're required to spend it. You can't, it's almost like a contract. At that point, you have said to the world, we're spending X amount of dollars on these things passed by Congress. It has the effect of law and it is now in place. And the only way to stop it is to have it rescinded and go through the rescission process, which means Congress then takes action to basically claw it back. The president can't stop a spend. Now, there are times when he can find a unique means by which to divert it to something which seems to relate. And I'm trying to think of an example, but let's say that the Green New Steel, they passed all kinds of things to enhance energy. And Trump says, I'm going to use it, but not for windmills. I'm going to use it for drill, baby, drill. And if the nuances of the law allow that, he can do it. Otherwise, though, he can't pull back from the things that it was designated for. So that's one of the reasons why they try to specify in the bills it will be used like this so that people can't divert it for other things. Now, having said that, I fully believe that they are going to wind up codifying some of these Doge cuts. Doge cuts are two different kinds. One is rescission of spending. In other words, like the Inflation Reduction Act, pull it back, but that requires Congress to do it. And the other piece is we were bloated over here and we kept just growing and we never stopped. And all we're trying to do is cut that, like USAID. We're trying to say USAID should be gone, fold it up, put it away. Just take what's left of it and put it under the State Department. Trump's doing that by executive order, but that can be changed by the next executive if they want to. And so they're trying to codify those cuts so they don't ever go away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess that process has to be separate from the one big beautiful bill, mainly, right? Or you can put pocket rescissions in the
There are some things which could have gone in, but they're still requiring review, and Doge was still doing its work while they were passing that bill. So Doge is pretty much complete right now with its top-down review of a federal government, and all said and done, they've now got to work through that process. And I'll be honest with you, part of what they're dealing with is there's a vast difference between being a conservative and being a Republican.
That's the root of the problem, and that's what I was just about to say.
And you got some so-called Republicans who are not going to be for it because, and that means because we only have a 50. If we had a 60 to 60 plus majority in the Senate, or we had a much larger majority in the House, we could do whatever we want to do. But right now, you got to get what it takes to pass it with 1 or 2 votes. That's a narrow margin. Good luck. And so, Steve from Madison saying, just do it. You can't just do it.
Yeah.
That's like saying, just drive your car on 3 wheels. You can't do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So
I mean, just like the texture said, I mean, it was add $5 trillion to the debt ceiling. The problem is anything lower, like you said, there's people like Mitch McConnell. There's people like, John Cornyn, who are, the squishy stuff like Murkowski, like those Republicans. It's like
Susan Collins.
It's I think that's the root of the problem. So maybe don't get angry at, people like Mike Johnson and Trump. Just know that the states that the people preside over, 2026 is around the corner. If you're unhappy about it, vote those people out.
That's right.
But I'll also say, and we can move on, but after this, but I think Trump going after people like Massey and Rand Paul, I'm not too keen on that because we need more people like Rand Paul.
Yeah, we do.
We need less people like Murkowski, Collins. So I'd take a house full of Thomas Masseys and a Senate full of Rand Pauls any day. So I don't think they're the issue. I think the soft and squishy Republicans are the issue.
And I'll be honest with you, I saw it in state politics the same way. And when I got elected and went down there, I understood when I got elected that not all Republicans are the same. I mean, it's like saying everybody on a baseball team plays at the same caliber. You don't, and everybody has a different position. So just like in the Senate, when I was there, everybody had a different level of their threshold of pain on things like spending or whatever else, and everybody also had their niche. They had certain things they cared about more than others. I saw some people that really cared about medical legislation. I saw some people that cared about fiscal legislation, economic development, whatever. But what I also learned is, more than I'd ever realized until I got there, was there are some Republicans who might as well be Democrats, and they're a Republican because it's convenient. And I mean, I had conversations with them. I had one guy tell me the only reason he ran with an R by his name is because he was mad at the local Democrats. And so he was doing it to show them up. And I'm like, okay, that's real helpful when we get to a conservative bill. Not. Lynn from Knoxville, Tennessee, checking in, says Trump pulled money from the DOD to build the wall. I know. And he also got it smacked back, and he didn't get to finish it. Remember that? He did pull DOD money to build the wall in his first term. And then they got it enjoined in court, if I'm not mistaken. And so he had to go through all kinds of machinations to be able to do it. He actually pulled money from the DOD and reallocated some of it because it was discretionary. And even then, he had to claim that it was meeting the standards of being like barrier materials or combat engineer type training or what. He had to find a justification. He couldn't just do willy-nilly. It's not his checkbook.
Kit from Morgan County just commented on the X stream, by the way. Said, time for the GOP to roar, run off all rhinos. That's what he says.
I agree with that. I'm good with that. But it's not going to happen tomorrow. In fact, it can't even happen probably in the next midterm. Some of these folks are going to go. We know that Mitch McConnell's not running again. I know that Murkowski and Collins are getting soft. And by the way, they're all ancient. These people are ancient.
Well, I saw a poll, and I mentioned it to you off air. Ken Paxton is up 20 points on a poll right now in the upcoming primary against John Cornyn.
Yeah.
So, it's maybe if you're upset, like I said, then go to the ballot box. If those people are, presiding over you, then vote them out.
But also realize all you can vote for is the ones you're allowed to vote for.
Exactly. That's the thing.
So,
I can't go to Kentucky and vote for, whoever.
Now you can send money to Rand Paul if you want to. You can do that. You can send money to Ted Cruz. You can send money to Ken Paxton, but you can't go vote for him. All you can do is hope the people out there will do their job. Fritzy from Huntsville says, Colonel, annual community softball event. Okay, great. Why you tell me? It's for the Army 250th celebration. Thank you for changing the subject. Says the Golden Knights are jumping in. That's cool. Fireworks, food vendors. That does sound cool. Is that going to be this weekend? It doesn't have a date. I'm assuming that's this weekend. Saturday. Nice. Appreciate it. Thanks, Fritzy. Mike from Florence says, I will never be completely happy with any bills until they start voting on single items and single item bills. Until then, we'll never know who voted on one thing so they can get another. It's like the big bills saying, I'll give you a leg to stand on if you'll give up an arm. That is true. And I get frustrated with omnibus legislation. In the state Senate in Alabama, we have you cannot add things to a bill unless it's absolutely germane to the actual topic. In other words, you're not going to see omnibus bills. They have to be related topics, like all on immigration or whatever. In this case, I will say, while I'm not generally a fan of it, here's what I know about this one, Mike. The big, beautiful bill is an effort to do exactly what I was talked about, waste no time. There's a deep concern that if we don't get something done in a massive way and do it soon, that Trump may only have a 2-year time frame to work in because the narrow margins they're operating in the House and Senate, we could lose just enough seats to where we can't get anything done after the first 2 years. The midterms are coming. I mean, people are going to start running for that office in the next 6 months. And so I'm not, generally speaking, a huge omnibus legislation fan. But in this case, I am, because I want to see the bulk of the agenda items that the Trump MAGA crew ran on get enacted as quickly as possible. So in this case, I'm for it. What else I got? A few more real quick, and then I'll go to the break. You know what? I got so many. No, I'm not. We'll go ahead and take the break. We'll come right back. I still got Adventures in Woke World. We got to have some fun with this stuff, man. There's some nutty stuff happening out there right now. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. So a bunch of y'all are texting in. I'll try to keep coming back to those momentarily, but I got to do this right now. I mean, listen, you know the thing, man. Every once in a while, I'm getting ready for the show in the wee hours of the morning because that's when it is, wee hours. I'm in the wee hours of the morning, sitting there having my coffee. I get up in the morning early and I start diving on in, and I am just trying to get the show resourced out. Sometimes I look at it and I think, look at the wokeness. Oh my gosh, how woke can that be? Look at all that. How in the world did they do that much woke? And I find myself realizing that I have just created a smorgasbord of wokeness, that I have found an entire buffet, a charcuterie, if you will, a veritable cornucopia, a plethora of wokeness, which means it's once again time for another round of adventures in woke world.
Adventures in woke world.
I hold here in my calloused former paratrooper hands an article from Fox Business, Dateline 2 days ago. Cracks me up, man. By the way, get your sound effects ready because you're going to need them. Cracks me up on when libs think they got a thing going on and then they make their life worse. Are you familiar with Waymo, a company called Waymo? Is that a thing?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay,
No.
I feel better. I don't feel like an old fogey now. All right, so Waymo is apparently a company. This is a thing. Like this right now, by the way, this is out in Santa Monica, California. Of course it is. Santa Monica, California, a company called Waymo has driverless cars. You can basically summon one. It's like an Uber, and it sits there attached to its charger until you put it in the app and you call it, and then it drives to your location. It's got the little revolving thing up top that's like a sensor that tells it where it's driving, and it's got cameras all over it. And anyway, Waymo, the driverless ride-hailing company in Santa Monica, they have something like 56 of these vehicles in their fleet, and people are sick of it. Why? Because California regulations were passed that required driverless vehicles to have beep beep sounds going constantly. Anytime they back up, they have to sound like a dump truck. Deep, 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 and it's just driving people bananas.
Why?
Especially in the neighborhood where they park, because now these cars are driving around and they're constantly coming and going to that parking lot, and every time they come back in, they're deep, deep, because they're backing into their charging stations. And
Why do they have to beep so much?
because it's California, that's why. Because it's a woke world, and because they got to over-regulate every single thing that comes along. I mean, on the one hand, I don't think I want to hail a ride from a driverless car.
Nah, I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. It's like eating fake meat.
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody to yell at when he misses my turn. By the way, what happens if the car won't stop? What happens if you're like, excuse me, there's no one to talk to. Excuse me, or what if you just want to get out like halfway because you're mad? Just let me out right here, driver. I'll just get out. Do you tip it? What do you do? What?
I don't know.
Who do you complain to if the driver was rude to you? I mean, and can somebody just jump in the driver's seat and take off? I don't know the answer to these questions.
I don't either. I've never even heard of the company until now.
All I know is they beep a lot.
That's annoying.
And people are sick of it. So in woke world right now, when you hyper regulate things and you think it's really cool to do stuff that nobody needs, like driverless cars, one lady said, I want the noise stopped. I thought it was cool. And then those freaking noise started. And I thought, this can't be happening. Waymo is now examining the issue and does not know what to do. But Waymo has had the cops called on them half a dozen times in the last week.
Who do you pull over?
I mean, I don't know. That's a great point. If they're speeding, what happens? And you can't jump in and go, driver, follow that car. You can't do that.
Or, hey, I'm late. Step on it.
Yeah, step on it, buddy. I'll pay you a little extra if you get me to the airport on time. No, you're just like waiting and hoping and driving, and I don't know, man.
And the funny part is, if something tragic happened and accidentally, hit another car or hit you're gonna be the only one in the car. So like, oh yeah, driverless car, sure. You just hopped in you just hopped in the back.
I didn't reach up and touch the steering wheel. I swear. Who put your luggage in the back? I mean,
yeah.
Do they pop the trunk for you? Do you have to push a button on the app? What happens? I don't know. All I know is they beep a lot. That's messed up. We're already at a break. We come back to this break. I'm still in Adventures in Woke World. I got to tell you, Walmart just paid a penalty. just paid a penalty, y'all. Tisha James, Attorney General of New York, is feeling pretty big about herself. Got Walmart to pay a penalty. You'll be shocked when you find out what for. Like, are you kidding me with this? Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all don't talk about this show goes from like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to, what we call, once again, Fort Benning. And then big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio audience. Then all y'all that go to the World Wide Web, just picking us up on places like our website, on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, live streaming every day, or picking it up on podcast after. We appreciate you more than you could possibly know. Thank you very much. So I'm in Adventures in Woke World. Hit me a sound effect for it again. I just feel like it. I'm trying to get you all the points I can.
Adventures in Woke World.
Maybe some applause. That'd be good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Walmart. JP, the things that liberals care about, the things that liberals will do. If you had to imagine what Walmart is not allowed to ship to the state of New York, what do you think it would be? Pray tell. I mean, it's not a hard guess. I don't want to. I'm not playing like trying to stump you or anything. What do you think that Walmart is not allowed? What not allowed? Like, don't you dare send it to the state of New York. What would it be?
I'm trying to think of something like manly, or I don't know.
Like what?
I don't know.
Something manly? Is that what you said?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Toy guns.
Okay, I was gonna say guns, but toy guns.
Toy guns.
Yeah.
Toy guns. So Walmart agreed to a settlement recently with New York officials after it accidentally shipped toy guns to the state of New York. Authorities, here's the headline. This is from Western Journal. All right. The headline is Walmart hit with civil penalties after shipping toy gun to liberal state. Yep. Second paragraph says, authorities determined the world's largest retailer facilitated the sale of realistic looking toy guns to residents in violations. If they knew what I played with as a kid,
yeah.
I mean, it looked like I was carrying an AR-15. It looked like I literally was carrying a Colt Peacemaker.
Hey, like your dad, my grandfather for Christmas got me when I was in the little fake, it's not BB guns, airsoft guns. He got me a pistol with like even a weighted barrel, like a authentic airsoft pistol.
Like it looked legit, didn't it?
Yes, yeah. So yes, I was right there with you. Yes.
Not in New York.
No.
Attorney General Tisha James, you know her, Letitia James. Oh yeah, the one that got Trump. Well, she says realistic toy guns can put communities in serious danger. That's why they're banned in New York. They literally, you're only allowed to ship them if they have bright colors or they're translucent, so that you can tell they're not real. Is New York that violent? Now I realize there's crime, New York City. I get it. I've been there, but I loved it. But is it that scary that for kids to have toy guns that no one can figure out? Hey, what's that 10-year-old over there doing? I do believe he's carrying an Uzi. And maybe it's true. I don't know.
It's like Woodfin making a ban on toy Glock switch guns. It's like, that's going to fix everything.
Just kidding. It's awful. Anyway, New York is fining Walmart. And now this is Walmart. This is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You know how much they had to pay? Think about it. How big was the fine? What do you think it was?
I don't know.
$16,000.
I'm about to say
it was chump change, but it was so small as to be infinitesimal, and yet Letitia James felt like she needed to put out an actual press release on it, because in woke world there are some things that really matter. And you can get away with all kinds of stuff in New York, but you can't get away with guns.
Letitia James has some of her own problems she's got to handle right now.
She does, just a few. How about this one? You did a podcast on this.
I did.
You did. Fox News has a story that I'm looking at. Headline, and then you fill in the blanks, please. Headline, Olympic gold medalist. Gender controversy swirls around Olympic gold medalist after new report sheds light on medical tests. This is Iman Khalif. Is that right?
Iman Khalif.
Iman Khalif, the dude, even kind of looked like a dude.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Very much looked like a dude.
Yeah. So tell us what you know.
So World Boxing put out a statement that they will now be requiring sex screening before their boxing events.
What kind of world are we living in that you have to sex screen the participants?
But coincidentally, like hours after that story came out, a journalist leaked a lab report from the IBA, International Boxing Association, showing that Iman Khalif tested as a dude for their testing in 2023, which
Before the Olympics,
which made them, not allow him to compete in the women's division. This is the same report that the Olympics said wasn't good enough for them. And actually, the IOC president called this test report Russian misinformation.
Russia.
Yeah.
That's what they're going with.
Exactly.
Russian misinformation.
So now
Russia.
Now we have proof of the actual report itself that showed that he was a dude, and the IOC is now caught pretty much lying the whole time. I mean, I knew they were the whole time, but now there's actual proof of it that they were lying. So I'd like to see him get stripped personally of his gold medal.
Will he?
No, because that would require the IOC to admit they were wrong, and I don't think they'll do that.
That's unbelievable. So basically, somebody behind the scenes said, "I am tired of this guy getting a pass on this," and they leaked the records.
It was a journalist of some. I can't remember the journalist's name.
The journalist had to get it from somebody else.
Yes,
though.
that's true. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So Khalif was disqualified from the 2023 championships before a gold medal bout over gender eligibility issues, and then, we now have DNA testing. That's listen, woke world. You can't write a novel like this. If 20 years ago somebody had written a novel about a guy pretending to be a female boxer and actually having to change the rules of the International Boxing Association to deal with it, nobody would have believed it. That would have been science fiction fantasy novels. For
sure. And if I'm the women boxers that lost to him, I'm suing the crap out of the IOC now, because boxing is unique in the way that people have actually died in that sport from competition. So they were literally risking the lives of these women boxers, making them go up against a guy. I'd be suing them right now.
That one particular bout, I remember when the actual female boxer took one to the chin,
like 2 or 3 jabs.
Yeah, and said, "This, I'm not doing this anymore." Mm-hmm. And you could see how distraught she was. She had trained probably half her life to be able to earn a right to go to the Olympics, and then had to deal with fighting a guy, and that was just layers of wrong. Mm-hmm. All right, what else I got here in woke world? Here's one that kind of Daily Caller. While we're on sports. So out in California, we just had a thing happen in Santa Monica, I believe it was. In Santa Monica, it's kind of become like this wild controversy. The press is all watching to see what's going to happen as a transgender won big in a track competition. And the 2 females who placed second and third behind the dude who was in female sports refused to take the podium. No, that was in Oregon, wasn't it? That was in Oregon, and refused to take the podium with him as he stood there on the podium, proud of his feminine ways. That you can't, in some places, even protest the fact that a dude is in girl sports, but the girl can be disqualified for over celebration. So in California, a California high school athlete was stripped of her first place title in the 400-meter dash after she celebrated with a fire extinguisher. Now, I can realize what I'm saying here. Maybe don't let the fire extinguisher become a thing, right? But Clara Adams, a sophomore at North Salina, celebrated her first place finish by spraying her shoes, just her shoes, with a fire extinguisher in a celebratory moment. Like she was pretending that her shoes were like she ran so fast that her feet were on fire. So she grabbed the fire extinguisher and thought it'd be funny to spray her shoes. Like, look at me. She didn't spray anybody else. She didn't put anybody at risk. But the California Interscholastic Federation that allows dudes to participate in women's sports said it was unsportsmanlike conduct, and they stripped her of her title. I mean, how obnoxious is this? Her sprint coach protested, saying it was racially motivated. Okay, don't go there. said she wasn't disrespecting anybody, said, I have video of it. She was on the other side of the wall. I told her to step off the track. She just sprayed her shoes. She didn't spray the track at all. We have now protested. But then now they're bringing in race. So God knows where it's going to go next. I'm sure somebody's hiring a lawyer. Go figure. All right. What else have I got here? I got text messages coming in. I'll get some of those. Oh, yeah. What's the first thing that a lib does when somebody attacks somebody else with a gun? Calls for gun control, right? Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Universal gun control.
What happens if they attack somebody with a flamethrower? They call for gun control.
Yeah.
What happens if they attack somebody with a rock? Gun control.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Jamie, hotair.com has the piece. Jamie Raskin, congressman from, I don't know, Nutsville somewhere, said the attack in Colorado is yet another in a long line of violence inspired by anti-Semitism, and therefore we need more gun control. Never mind what the dude used was a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. There was no gun involved. In fact, I will say this. He apparently tried to buy a gun and was turned down because he's an illegal alien. So as much as I hate to say it, the checks and balances caught the guy and wouldn't let him have a firearm. No telling who'd be dead right now. In the meantime, though, 8 people have been hospitalized with burns and other injuries. And yet Jamie Raskin believes that what we really need is to make sure that we have more, I don't know, like gun control, because that's what happens in woke world.
I mean, we talked about it yesterday. The lack of guns around that area is what helped. I mean, that guns would have helped stop that situation.
Yeah, it would have.
Good Samaritans who were armed would have stopped that a lot sooner.
I think there was a lack of guns and kahunas, just so you know.
Yeah, because people were filming.
They're standing there filming. The guy's ranting and burning people, and they're going, hey, I got to get this on film. Video.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Sorry. Old guys talking. By the way, you know what film is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I haven't watched much of it, but I know what it is.
All right. Real quick, a couple more, and then we'll wrap it. I don't know which one I want to go with. Which one's more fun here? I'm going to go with this one. Jerry Nadler, who looks like a bridge troll. Jerry Nadler, who looks like the bridge troll, who hides under the bridge and jumps out to try, except he couldn't jump. I know he couldn't jump. Anyway, Jerry Nadler has got a staffer at his New York office who thought that it would be a good idea, as there were illegal immigration protesters, like calling for support of illegal immigrants, who DHS was trying to detain, to let them hide in the congressman's office. Like, who thought this was a good idea? Well, apparently DHS didn't. Customs Enforcement agents actually wound up cuffing the staffer and arresting people in the congressman's office. In woke world, anything can happen. All right, I'll stop it there. We'll take a break. We'll come right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Man, making common sense like a superpower. Grades are in. Grades are in. Let's see what we got. John from Huntsville says Phil gets an A double plus for a spectacular Taco Tuesday performance, which means today's winner with an ultimate supreme perfect A triple plus is obviously the kind of Gen Z, the king of Gen Z, the master of sound effects, the incredible and the sensational JP. Congratulations. This is definitely one of your best performances, he says.
Thanks. Perfect A triple plus. That's wow.
A supreme perfect A triple plus.
Hey, I don't know if I can top that.
I don't know that you ever can. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's like me getting a 10 on my disclaimer.
Yep.
All right. We're trying this again. So we got a thing right now. Our phones are still being reworked. We got somebody coming in tomorrow morning. We hope to have some, performance issues cleared. But the reality is we still got phones down, but we have a thing called Clean Feed. We can send somebody a link. And our buddy Jeff Rowe from Indiana is on the road. I understand that yesterday he dropped off because his wife called him in the middle of the call to see what he wanted for dinner. And I can't argue with that. Because if Mrs. Jeff from Indiana is calling, I get out of the way. That's all I know. Hey, Jeff Rowe, how you doing, buddy?
She called me to tell me that my meatloaf that I was going to have from Cracker Barrel was burnt up. So, what would you rather have? So I was going to have a meatloaf Monday.
Oh, did he get a call from Mrs.
Meatloaf of apparently?
Well, I hope that the chicken and dumplings or whatever you had wound up being just as good. But where are you at right now, man?
Same place I was yesterday, about trying to get into Goodlettsville here at a very slow 10-mile-an-hour pace.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, be careful on it. Well, tell me what your thoughts are. What do you think about the stuff we've been talking about today? I had the thing about we want our rainbow back. I had the fall of the Rainbow Mafia. I got things about GOP needs to take advantage of Democrats right now while they can. What do you think? What's your pick?
Well, the Rainbow Mafia isn't dead yet because I don't know if you seen it or not, but a judge put an injunction on Trump for the prisons that they still have to give the prisoners their transgender stuff as hair care products and hormones and stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Taxpayer dime. I mean, there's some people that are going to go to jail just to get all that. I'm just saying.
No, yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're still putting them in women's prisons or not. That's what I'm concerned about. So I don't know how far this injunction goes.
I don't know what it's going to take. It's going to take somebody actually getting killed. And I hate to say that, but I don't know what else it can take to prove that this is a really, really, really bad idea to put guys in a women's prison and then just, hope for the best.
But the judge said something about couldn't stop their treatment because they don't stop other treatments for other prisoners. And I'm thinking, well, the treatment for a mental disorder is not hormones to make your body change. I'm sorry, but that's just a fallacy.
Well, it is, and sooner or later, I tell you what though, at the very least, I do believe there's been an absolute downtrend in like Pride Month, and we're not seeing near as many of these, rainbow flags everywhere. Corporations are backing off. I still think we're in a better place this year than we were last year.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it pays to be the 5% or 10% of people that raise a cane and get their way, So maybe we should take a something from that movement and just maybe just a few of us could raise cane every now and then and get our way, because that's what it amounts to.
Well, that goes into the waste no time thing I had a minute ago. Democrats are down. I say we go ahead and just like exploit the breach right now.
Yeah.
All right, man.
I think you're right.
Hey, the music's about to play, brother. You be safe on the road. We appreciate you, and I'm glad we got to hear your voice today.
You all have a good one.
See you, buddy. Take care. That clean feed connection is clunky when you're driving down the road, but it worked. Hey, listen, I meant what I said. I said it earlier. Is that does this audience mean the world to us? I say it a lot. I'm not kidding you. I'm not pulling any punches. There's the only reason why we do what we do. The only reason why I get up early in the morning to prepare the show. The only reason why JP's working all day on editing of videos and posting things on social media and getting the show ready himself is because we have y'all. It's like we could talk into a can all day. If y'all weren't there, what good would it be? But the reality is you're the ones who make this worth the while. So I say it every day, but no matter whether you're listening online in podcasting, streaming it live by video, or listening on one of our multitude of radio stations, you are much loved and more than appreciated. And truthfully speaking, I think it's one of the best radio audiences, one of the best listening audiences out there. I'll put y'all up against anybody. You guys blow me away with the things you say in the text messages and your participation in the show. So there's that. Now that I've bragged on you, don't let it go to your heads. Just stay in the fight.